Hi, if you clicked on this video, you're probably trying something creative and feeling a bit of fear of failure, or you're feeling a bit stuck in your journey. I'm Sylvia, and around 1 or 2 years ago, I tried to connect back to my creativity, my expression. I was studying a degree that had not much creative freedom or creative anything really. So I started to try posting on social media. And to be honest, none of those things worked out the way I imagined them to. But looking back now on those 1 to 2 years, it taught me a lot about creativity. It taught me a lot about reconnecting to something that you care about. So here are 6 lessons from my journey of failing in my creative journey. So the first one is a bit cliche, but number one, you learn everything from failure and nothing from success. I would hear that all the time, but it honestly took me failing at something and then getting better at that something to actually integrate what that means. So I almost want to encourage you to fail at something and have that experience so you approach failure a bit differently. For me, that moment happened when I did UGC. At that time, I had like a mentor because I was working for this company that would give you mentors, gave me like some tips to improve. And then when I implemented that, the UGC actually worked better, like it had more views. And in that moment, I just realized failure wasn't a end state. It is a necessary stepping stone to growth. Failure doesn't feel good, and I feel like only through negative emotion or being uncomfortable is when you have the humility to change. So when I started to create online, I was always so disappointed by the gap between my vision I have in my head versus the things that I actually could create. But then the gap between your taste and your skill is actually a very normal gap to have, especially when you start out. Failure is feedback. It doesn't define you. The same way that you wouldn't define yourself because your bicep muscle isn't strong and you cannot lift 10 kilos, you would just know logically, okay, this is a domain that I still need to work on. You wouldn't take it as a failure of yourself. If that makes sense, I hope that does. Number two, the day you plant the seed is not the day you eat the fruits. And for that, there's like this bamboo story, which I love. In the age of social media, sometimes it can just seem like someone wakes up and is successful immediately. And that might be the case for some people who are extremely talented. The thing is with social media, you don't see the failures, you just see the wins. Most creative things grow like seeds. You can spend months creating something without any results. But then all of a sudden, when you look back, you realize those times led you to a point where you can actually reap results. It just makes sense connecting back. Good things take time. Give yourself the grace to take the time. Number three, having hobbies that are not result orientated changes everything. For me, things started to shift once I started to draw and do things that I enjoyed as a kid, purely for the process and the enjoyment of it. Doing something creatively just for yourself, it gives you a sense of self-resourcefulness and self-groundedness. Like you know you have something that you can turn to and it will give you joy. How powerful is that? And when I think about the people whose work I admire, I feel like they just are people who are intrinsically full, and that inner fullness shows in the way they express themselves. And I feel like that's why having hobbies is so important. Number four, this one is very cliche as well, but you need to get the reps in. If you want to make one good video, expect that you need to make 50 or 100 bad videos. If you look at my earlier vlogs from last year, I feel like you can see a gradual change and a gradual improvement, and that generally comes with getting in the rep. Number five, learn from references. It's important to study the people that know what they're doing, that have been doing a craft for years. I read this book, I put it here, but the author says there's such a bad connotation about copying in the West. Like in the West, it's all about originality, but like in the East, in Japan, for example, copying isn't seen as something shameful. It's simply part of learning a craft. Historically, most artists learned through references. Painters studied and copied their masters. Writers studied the structure of a great essay. Even Benjamin Franklin practiced writing by reading essays by other people and replicating it from his mind. I do want to say that the goal isn't to copy someone, obviously. The goal is to learn from references and then creating your own thing, or copying or referencing until your own style or own voice emerges. Number six, failing creatively has helped me expand my worldview. One of the most surprising things and most fruitful things I gathered from trying new things online and creating things facing my fears, it changes your perception of what is possible. And I realized the fears that I had were not true. Like, I didn't die. I was okay, you know? And then you take away the power of fear. I feel like if you do something new, try something new, push yourself out of your comfort zone. That is inherently creative because you're curious about a different way of life. You just start to realize that most of the things that you were afraid of, they don't happen, or if they happen, you're fine, or you find ways to deal with it. So those are the lessons that I took from a year or two of trying and failing creatively. If anything, yeah, I hope it just takes away the fear of failure. I know that I still struggle with it, but I just have different mindsets around it and coping mechanisms now. So thank you for being here, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye-bye. There's like this creative block, and it's blocked by fear. The fear of being perceived, the fear of being judged and not liked and cringe even. But here we are learning to live with fear and not be controlled by fear.